The state's trying a new approach to helping ex-offenders stay out of trouble. Part of the strategy is to work with a community-based nonprofit known as ROCA, but there's also a new approach in how the program is funded. To explain the Pay for Success initiative is our guest, Special Advisor to the Executive Office of Administration and Finance, Robert Koenig. Thank you very much for being with us, Rob. First of all, talk about the sizes, because this has been tried somewhat in other states, but I guess this is a bigger venture here.
This is the largest financial investment in Pay for Success that's been deployed to date. It is a $27 million potential payment for success down the line.
Well, talk about the way ROCA is going to work with people, because that's the part that's not quite as new. They've been at it for a while, and I guess they seem to be doing it pretty well. So what are they doing exactly?
So ROCA has a wonderful intervention model that they've honed over time. They are a very rigorous, data-driven organization, and they have a 2-year intervention model followed by 2 years of follow-up, where they really go out and engage youth in the community and bring in those youth to their programming, in particular high-risk young people, and they are persistent and relentless in that outreach. They form strong relationships and then help folks transition into employment opportunities.
Well, when I think of the people at risk, some of them, if they don't have really serious criminal background problems, they must have some academic shortcomings, things that really take time to work out. Can you really give them that kind of time?
So ROCA's model does account for the time required and the commitment by its staff required to break through some of those challenges to reach real relationships with the youth.
Well, it sounds, I remember when this was announced a few weeks ago, as if you've got to have some real one-on-one contact. You just can't sign somebody up and expect them to show up and things will work out automatically.
Absolutely. The ROCA model is built on what they call transformational relationships. And those relationships are between the youth workers at ROCA and the young people that they're engaging and trying to help. And it's the trust that's embedded in those relationships and the support and the life skills that come through them that really enable the young people in ROCA to thrive.
Well, catching up on skills, it's not just being in a classroom or a special place, but it's also about getting a foothold in a work environment, and that takes trust on the part of employers too.
It does, and ROCA has done a very nice job building relationships with potential employers and partners who can be places for these young people they're working with to come and build employment skills.
And I guess that's also important for the young people, because getting that foothold, being in that different world, I guess it's a lot more motivating than trying to just catch up in a classroom setting.
I think it's very possible. And it's the connection with the youth worker, it's the connection with the community at ROCA that makes them able to really move forward.
Well, it's not surprised to hear the statistics are stacked against success here normally. Talk about that, because if you look at all the people who have these criminal background problems, what is the rate of relapsing and going back to prison or jail?
So the rate among the high-risk individuals is, I believe, about 64% going back to going into incarceration within about 5 years. So it's a very, very high rate, and these are individuals who the Commonwealth feels and the governor feels can be tremendously helped through innovative programs like this. And
the target population here, what are we talking about, ages, demographics?
Yep, 17 to 23-year-old young men, and the communities that they're based in are in the Boston and Chelsea areas and in the Springfield area.
So one of the things that's going on with this program here is just the amount of resources you can bring in. So talk about how that's changing.
So one of the really wonderful things, exciting for us about Pay for Success as a model, is that it allows resources from the private sector to come in to help deliver these services. And so we have $18 million that has been committed by the different funders in different forms of capital to the project to pay for the services. And then ROCA is also, in addition to that, putting up some of its own money or deferring some of its own fees up to about $3.25 million to make sure to pay for the service delivery. And so what happens then is we'll measure the performance, the ability of ROCA to meet those target outcomes. And then the Commonwealth will make payments down the line if the evaluation suggests that they've actually met those outcomes. So it's a great way to invest in preventive programs that typically are tougher for government to muster investment in.
And of course, what's also going on here is if the program is successful and we have fewer people that have to be locked up, the state has to pay those investors because they're going to save money.
Exactly. So all of the payments are tied to the expected savings for the recidivism payments and the recidivism savings. So really exciting potential to save quite a bit there for the state. Most importantly, though, really great opportunity for the young people to change their life trajectories.
One of the things that I can see here excites people is that you're able to leverage money from other sources where it wasn't coming in from before. But why this more roundabout way of doing it? Because, you know, the state could always have used its own money more judiciously and gotten better results. So why not? Why do this?
I think this is a way of funding things that does a few different things. First, by paying this way, we're only paying for things that work, and we ensure that the government is only paying when the desired outcomes are actually met. The second great thing that it does is it allows us to test new intervention models that typically are harder to muster the political or muster capital for. So while government could go out and fund it directly, oftentimes the lag between when the program is delivered and when the savings accrue is a challenge for building up the will to invest in them. And the third thing that happens through this model is we get to run an evaluation. And so we're actually learning as we go what works. And it helps us figure out, going forward, what the government should be investing in.
It sounds as if the parties here are more under the gun. They have to prove themselves.
So there is also that element. So there are incentives that are aligned, financial incentives through this structure that motivate performance. With that said, there's also the social and mission motivation that all of the parties are bringing to bear as well.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Robert Koenig from the Executive Office of Administration and Finance, and we'll have more news in just a moment.